want to thank all of the folks who are on the line for your generous support, who have been really helping us get through not just COVID, but the past 40 years, because as Donna said, we are 40 years old and 40 years strong. I just have to reflect for a minute. Earlier today, one of our young people was here, a 3-year-old, but he had this huge Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we were having a wonderful conversation. And he was telling me that the dinosaur's name was Dinosaur Tom, and that he has little hands and big teeth, and that he talks. And we had a wonderful conversation, and it just brought so much joy, because in this time when there's a lot of discourse going on, sometimes the best conversation you could ever have is with a 3-year-old. So shout out to him and to Dinosaur Tom. So, we're going to talk a lot about food today, and really want to start by just setting the stage that inequities in healthy food started long before COVID-19, but certainly has been exacerbated by the health pandemic. A report by the Urban Institute in 2019, so just last year, a year that I think we all want to go back to, but just last year shows that 12% of all Washingtonians are facing food insecurity. So that's, more than 1 out of every 10 residents before the pandemic. And sadly, children are disproportionately affected, with over 20% that are struggling with food insecurity. And again, that this has really been exacerbated by the pandemic. Feeding America has found that the rates of food insecurity could increase between 48 and 60% here in the DC region. Between 48 and 60%, that's huge. And they're linking it to the economic crisis. And see, this is an important point, is that it's not just the health pandemic, but it's the corresponding economic pandemic that is going on with it, where communities that we stand alongside are getting hit the hardest, health and financially. It's no surprise, and most folks know, that in food insecurity, the concentration of where that lives is east of the river. Here in our beautiful headquarters in Southeast. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to visit us. If not, please come visit us at some point, whether it's during the COVID or not. And there are 3 main barriers that are affecting why east of the river is having such a problem. One is the lack of grocery stores. There are only 3 grocery stores in Wards 7 and 8. 3 grocery stores to support over 180,000 residents, where in Ward 1, there are actually 9 grocery stores to support 80,000 residents. Let me say it again. In Wards 7 and 8, there are only 3 grocery stores to support over 180,000 residents. In Ward 1, there are 9 grocery stores to support 100,000 folks less, 80,000 folks. The second issue that's affecting this is income. At the end of the day, we know that the city and the wealth in the city is drastically different. So while we have a city where the median income is over $90,000 for some, here in our Southeast headquarters, our neighborhood is $34,000 a year. $34,000 a year. And we know how money and economics sit in the center of everything else. Health, food, affiliations with Justice Matters, education, so on and so forth. And we're going to talk more about that. And then the third thing is transportation. Less than 50% of residents in Ward 8 have access to a vehicle. So that means that if you can get to one of the 3 grocery stores, and there's only 1 in 8, if you can get to one of the grocery stores in Ward 7 or 8, you're probably taking a bus or a ride share or multiple buses. And that is really not affords you the opportunity to carry a ton of groceries, bags and bags and bags of groceries. So we're really facing a significant disadvantage here. The limited food access also, obviously is linked directly to health and wellness challenges. See, and this is why COVID is exacerbating everything, right? Because if you don't have access to food, we don't even have access to food, let alone quality food, right? We're talking about healthy fruits and vegetables, healthy shelf life items. That we're in a food desert. We're 100% in a food desert here. And then that, links to all of the things that we're seeing COVID exacerbate. So why is it that the number one positivity rate is not Ward 8? It's not Ward 8. It's actually the third positivity rate is Ward 8, but the number one death rate is Ward 8. Why? Because of the underlying medical conditions. And those underlying medical conditions include obesity, diabetes, heart disease. And that, again, is really linked to the access, the affordability, and the, just the general ability to get to food and then quality food. Now, a lot of folks ask, what have we done during COVID? Well, we have stepped up. We've doubled down on mission. 5 days after the first COVID case, first confirmed COVID case happened in the District of Columbia, we actually pivoted all of the resources and provided a comprehensive response to what we were going to do to support the residents of the District of Columbia. So first, we sent our nationally accredited early childhood education programs into a virtual model, but we did not stop there. We actually provided our first ever cash assistance program where we gave our families $9,000 free and clear, $9,000 free and clear, plus $15 a day per child for groceries, $15 a day per child for groceries, plus diapers, wipes, and formula. It ended up being a $1.4 million investment directly back into the community. We're very proud of that, and that has laid the foundation now for a larger effort called Thrive East of the River, where we're in partnership with Bread for the City, Far Southeast Family Strengthening Collaborative, and Building Bridges Across the River, where we are actively engaged in doing cash transfers, groceries, and household items for 500 families in Ward 8. We're very proud of that. In addition to that, we also, of course, and the the bulk of this conversation is about food. Well, we changed everything that we did in food. Many of you know that folks would come to us to our markets. We have a market here in our lobby market in Southeast. We have a lobby market in Northwest. Donna, who's amazing, leads our Joyful Food Markets, 53 pop-up markets in every elementary school in Wards 7 and 8. And people come and shop. Well, in a global health pandemic, people can't come and shop. So what did we do? We pivoted all of our efforts and moved into a pre-bag, contactless bag and go model. So now we have literally assembly lines where folks are bagging everything up and putting those bags out. And folks, again, are coming and they're able to get that. And when we started this in March, again, 5 days after the first confirmed case, we were about 500 bags of groceries a day. You know where we are now? Anybody want to drop it in the chat? Go ahead and guess. We're gonna let you guess in the chat box. I'm gonna keep talking. Guess in the chat box. How many bags of groceries that you think we are going through a day now? I don't see. There we go. Okay, we got 1,200, 2,000, 2,000. Okay, all y'all, you guys are reading our notifications. All right, we're over 2,000 bags of groceries a day. Sat here and watched it again today. Over 2,000 bags of groceries a day are going out from Martha's Table directly into the community. But we didn't stop there. Our McKenna's Wagon, our longest standing program that has been with us for all 40 years, has gone out every single night. And it doesn't matter what the weather is. It doesn't matter if there's a holiday. It doesn't matter if there are massive protests going on, which has caused disruptions. But every single night we have gotten out there and supported those who are facing housing instability with a hot meal. And we have seen those numbers rise as well. We used to see about 80 to 100 people a day. It's over 200 people a day now. And so, we didn't stop there. We continue to expand. Unfortunately, there were a number of organizations who had to close or restrict operations, but we have expanded and expanded and expanded. mentioned earlier issues with transportation. Well, we understand that. There are a number of transportation issues in the community where we're headquartered. So you know what we did? We actually launched 10 new community pop-up markets all throughout Ward 8, where we pop up once a week, again, in the grab and go model, but we pop up in the community that you're in so that you don't have to come to us. We're going to come to you. We also supported seasoned citizen buildings in Ward 7 and 8 because, again, folks were advised not to leave their homes. Well, if you can't leave your home, then we need to bring resources to you. And of course, we also supported all the DCPS meal sites in Ward 7 and 8 and have done that throughout the pandemic and continue to do that. And we've been able to do that, quite frankly, with your generous support. We would not have been able to do this without your generous support, because at the end of the day, we did not budget for this. I had to apologize to my board. Shout out to any board members who are on the line. I did have to apologize. I did not budget for a global pandemic. I did not budget for 400% increase in food. And contrary to popular belief, we don't get our food donated, we buy our food. We have to ensure the quality of fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. And while we do accept, shelf life items, we buy those as well. And we definitely get them at a great price. And we have a lot of leverage and purchasing power, but we buy all of that, and your support goes to that. So, at the end of the day, as we mentioned, continue to support those DCPS meal sites, continue to make sure that the youngest people in the community, the most vulnerable people in the community have access to those food resources, and that they're not just food, they're good, healthy food. A couple of just last things, I mentioned the community pop-ups. One of our team members was recently, staffing one of the pop-ups and ran into a childhood friend, and he said, Martha's Table is really stepping up. And that every time that he goes to his grandmother's house, he said, I've been able to eat healthy because of Martha's Table, because she actually is one of the folks who shows up at the pop-up markets. The last couple of things I'll just say is that everything we do at Martha's Table is with dignity and respect. You know our mission, you know it well, and that's why you're supporters, and we appreciate that. Our core values are compassion, respect, teamwork, and accountability. We believe in white glove service. We do anything and everything that we can to give our neighbors, our communities, the folks we stand alongside, the best experience, because we want to make sure that if you touch Martha's Table, somehow that makes your day better. Somehow that makes something better for you. So I really appreciate the time, the introductory remarks, and I want to turn it back over to Donna.
Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate that. And I just want to also highlight, I was at a school site today, and earlier this morning, I was with volunteers that were helping to make 200 bags for the school site. And I got to a school site today, was greeted by a parent, and was just so overjoyed that we were there, that we brought our music, that we still kept a joyful environment. And she pretty much told me, you know what, I was so looking forward to this. My son is a picky eater, but he'll try what's in this bag. Because you make it fun, you include a recipe, and you just make it accessible. And so that totally made my day. And I was just so thrilled to meet her, and then to come back to the Commons to see our volunteers working and continuing to make those bags that go out the door every day. So I just want to say thank you, and to really highlight that volunteers have truly been essential workers alongside our Team MT on the front lines. I want to make sure that you all know that together we've distributed over 300,000 bags of healthy groceries. And each of these bags was prepared with the hard work and the loving hands of our volunteers. Every day, Monday through Saturday, we're here, we're packing and distributing 2,000 bags of groceries. The mornings begin with a shipment of over 20,000 pounds of food delivered each day. Volunteers help unload the trucks, help us set up our hub space where we are setting up all of our assembly lines with each of the food stations. And then they're there for hours, really filling each bag with apples, oranges, potatoes, onions, shelf-stable items. This week, actually, we have a special Thanksgiving menu where we have collard greens and green beans and really awesome products in our bag. And each of our volunteers and team members are also there to help distribute and ensure that each guest coming through our doors are greeted with respect, with a smile, making sure people feel supported through these tough times. And as Kim mentioned, we've continued to support our McKenna's Wagon program, our nightly meal program that goes out every night, regardless of weather, holiday, protests, as Kim mentioned. And we make 230 meals and include healthy sandwiches, snacks, water, to ensure guests have these nutritious meals every night. And we've put, strict safety protocols in place to ensure the volunteers that are packing our bags and making the meal bags are safe during these operations. And even with social distancing, with masks, we're still able to keep it fun and lively with music. And it's really just a great way for people to connect and stay connected as a community as we all grapple with social distancing and isolation during this pandemic. So again, can't reiterate enough, but thank you. It's not easy to expand our operations by 400,000 and introduce brand new programs in the middle of a pandemic. So we truly could not do this without your support, the support of our generous donors as well as volunteers. And through your contributions, you really helped prove that DC is a community that takes pride in its strength, its resilience, and commitment to supporting neighbors. So we appreciate you for taking the time today to join us and to learn more about this important work. We've shared with you sort of the big picture of what Martha's Table is doing right now with our food access programs and what you are doing to join us and to make all of this possible, to provide healthy groceries in a dignified environment. And we've seen so many instances of new guests coming through our doors, maybe visiting us for the first time, unsure of the process, and are actually shocked when they learn that they don't have to prove anything. They don't have to prove that they lost their job or show documentation of their income. We try to make it as low barrier as possible. So they walk up, they're greeted, and they leave with a wonderful bag of fresh groceries. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's really, meeting people where they're at, treating people like people. And people like you, again, have really stepped up in this difficult time. And we just wanted to highlight, again, our neighbors as well. They may come to our doors and pick up groceries, but then they'll come back that afternoon to help volunteer for 4 hours and make bags alongside us. So it's truly amazing just to see an overwhelming community and support through all of this. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for fighting for food justice with us. And now we want to turn it over to the fun part and take your questions. So as a reminder, please use the Q&A chat function to submit your questions. I also have a few questions that were submitted during registration. So I'll just start one. And this one is from Janet for Kim. How is food getting to kids who aren't in school, and what are some tangible things that residents here can do to help food insecurity in a sustained way?
Well, thanks so much for that. And Janet, if you're on the line, thank you so much for your question and your support. As we mentioned, we are supporting the DCPS meal sites in Ward 7 and 8. And we see a lot of families there. They're obviously at schools and meant to support children who are not on campus learning at this period of time. But when we look across all of the outlets where we're giving food, there are young people, there are children at every stop, at our lobby markets, at our community pop-ups. And sadly, as somebody who's done McKenna's pre and now during, we didn't used to have a lot of kids or families on McKenna's, and that has actually spiked up as well. And so those are the ways that we're getting to those young people. We continue to communicate with our families and make sure that they tell their networks that we have resources that are available. It's a pretty small knit community, just DC in general. But certainly within the communities that we stand alongside in Wards 1 and Ward 8, folks know each other. They're tight knit, and so folks know that we have resources that are available. The second part of the question was how can folks support to reduce food insecurity? Just continue to support us and other organizations who are doing great work. And I think, again, it's really important that it's not just food, but it's healthy food, because, you get a hot dog and some chips. Well, that's that's a part of the underlying conditions that we're seeing exacerbated by COVID, right? So what we want to do is actually support organizations that are supporting and standing alongside the community with those, healthy and fresh fruits and vegetables and shelf life items.
Great. This question is from Holly. How does MT and other organizations providing food and services coordinate to serve the greatest number of people? Do other organizations overlap in clients or recipients of services aside from providing food?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, one organization can't do everything. And we've always said that, and we work in strong partnership with a number of organizations. One of the things that I think is great is when we come together and make it kind of a one-stop shop, right? So the DC Diaper Bank came to us and said, well, why would we have people go get diapers here and then they go get food there, right? So imagine that came together, and now every Monday, families can come get food and diapers, right? So that's a great way to put resources together. I mentioned earlier our partnership, Thrive, and in addition to the cash transfers and groceries and household items that we're doing, there are a number of other resources that those other organizations provide. For example, Bread for the City has legal services. Bread for the City has clothing services. We have clothing services. Far Southeast Family Strengthening Collaborative, they have family navigators that work with families to help them understand things like financial statements in terms of restoring credit, savings, things to make sure that you can keep your home. And so we work very much in concert with other organizations who, we all want to come together and have a leverage effect, right? We don't need to duplicate things that are out there that are going well. So we want to come together and say, we can provide X, Y, and Z, you can provide A, B, and C, and then all together we can provide the entire alphabet.
Great. This one is from Anne. What can those of us over 65 years old do to help? I contribute to Martha's Table every month on a prearranged basis. But for folks in higher risk COVID group categories, is monetary contribution the best for now? Or is there any other ways to get involved?
Well, again, we're up 400% with our food, and therefore monetary contributions are always great. And we love monthly donors. We love that. That really helps with consistency and knowing that there are going to be resources in place. But the other thing I would offer, sandwiches. Sandwiches, sandwiches, sandwiches. So in addition to the hot meals that go out every day on McKenna's Wagon, we actually also go through 10,000 sandwiches a week, 10,000 sandwiches a week. So you get a very nice bag that has a hot meal in it, 4 sandwiches, trail mix or another snack, water, and a non-sugary beverage. And if we don't get 10,000 sandwiches, then instead of 4 sandwiches, you get 3 sandwiches. For the most part, everyone who are receiving these resources, this is their only food for the day. And so folks may use the sandwiches for breakfast or lunch. The hot meal usually is consumed on site or nearby or in a quick time frame. But sandwich making parties are fun. They're not necessarily they can be laborious. But we've had a family that's come together throughout this pandemic, and they've supported over 20,000 sandwiches in the past 8-9 months, and that's just amazing. I do want to I'm trying to pay attention to everything. Ms. Pelt, I'd be happy to follow up with you on that. So I'll be happy to follow up with you on that.
Great. Another question from Veronica. Does the city or federal government supply resources, funding, or contribute in any way to support Martha's Table during these times?
So, in normal days, DC Department of Health and OSSI are certainly local entities who support us. We are, again, with our nationally accredited early childhood education centers, operating Head Start and Early Head Start. So the federal HHS government supports us in that. During COVID, the District of Columbia government has supported us through the Office of Planning with some additional resources, and the DC Department of Health continues to support us with our food access locations that have shifted from, again, joyful food markets into the model that we're in, supporting DCPS meal sites.
Great. This one is from William. What are some of the things Martha's Table needs in order to continue the great work that we're doing?
We need your energy and your passion and your commitment and your support. So that can show up in a lot of different ways, right? One, I always want to recognize our 1MT family. It's an amazing, amazing team. We have 130 folks working every single day. The team is on mandatory telework, and folks have the option to opt in. Very few people do that, and we understand that because their kids are at home during virtual learning, or caretakers of folks who might be in protected categories. But just offering a kind word, I think, is great support for Martha's Table. Certainly financial support. Our bags of groceries range from about $8 to $11 a bag, depending on what's actually in that bag. Your time, at this point, again, with mandatory telework and very few team members opting in, and the fact that we've had to change our model such that we're pre-bagging 2,000 bags of groceries a day. 2,000 bags of groceries a day takes a lot of people power, and we need people to help with that. We also love to have, pro bono support if there's skills or expertise that someone has that they might want to offer us. Talked a little bit about sandwiches, and then also clothes. Our Outfitters Boutique is not open right now. However, we are still getting those resources out into the community. So coats, we just had a coat drive this past Saturday, where we distributed over 1,500 coats, hats, gloves, scarves, and other household type of items. Before that, we had a fall festival where we had thousands and thousands of items that people were able to come and get, again, everything at no cost. So again, there have been a number of organizations who, have stopped taking donations. We take them, they quarantine, and then we're able to find the best way to get those resources out to the community. So, a kind word goes a long way. Money goes a long way. Time goes a long way. Sandwiches go a long way. Clothes go a long way.
Great. The next question, I have two questions that are very similar, so I'm going to try to combine. One is from Janet in terms of what we see as challenges now as we move into the winter, and with increases in COVID and lack of economic support. And similarly, Donald was wondering how is Martha's Table managing with the virus environment, and how has our food access been affected by the virus?
Well, food access hasn't been affected in terms of it changing other than skyrocketing, right? So it is certainly skyrocketing, and we are doing our best to continue to stand alongside those families and make sure that we can respond. The cold weather, we do have a cold weather plan. It's going to be complicated. The spiking numbers do bring us concern, but we are in this for the long haul. We have incredible safety measures in place, all the way down to restricting the number of days that team members who do opt in can come in, making sure that the social distancing is there, the PPE is there, we provide all of that. And so, it's just a really, really tough time. It's very hard to say, like, what does this look like? Normally, we would put some heat lamps out and make that work. We're going to have to do a lot more. And we are, through, again, generous supporters like you, investing to ensure that we can provide these resources while keeping people safe.
Great. This one is from Irma. If we're donating bags of trail mix, are we also able to donate unopened groceries?
Unopened groceries, yes. So we will accept healthy shelf life items. Please check the dates. We really appreciate when we get great donations, but we will check. And sometimes things have expired. We have to make sure, again, that we're providing the best quality for our neighbors and our communities. And we will also accept certain things for McKenna's Wagon. We can drop in the chat box what we will accept in terms of chopped vegetables and things of that nature. But certainly in terms of like canned items and healthy shelf life items, we do accept that. Cereal goes a long way. So don't just think like evening type food. Breakfast foods are great as well. We distribute them as bonus items at our lobby markets, and people get very excited when we have bonus items. So McKenna's Wagon goes out every single night, and our first. So how Martha's Table got founded by Veronica Mays, who also founded House of Ruth and So Others Might Eat. And so our first donation was actually a good humor truck that would drive around and provide a hot meal to those who are facing housing instability. And we have kept that program and continue to operate that program. We have chefs here, amazing chefs who make wonderful meals. Today was, I'm not going to get it right, pasta puccineri. If anybody knows what the real term is, but it was amazing. It was amazing. I got a little sample of it. And those meals, they're amazing meals. It's not a hot dog and some chips. They are well-balanced, healthy, hearty meals. Over our 40 years, we have evolved. Some people would have said we started as a soup kitchen. That has evolved into McKenna's Wagon, which is a free food truck. People may have said we were a food pantry. We have evolved into these healthy lobby markets and our joyful food markets. We started as a thrift shop. We have evolved into our Outfitters boutique. We started as daycare, custodial care. We've evolved into nationally accredited early childhood education centers. And again, McKenna's Wagon, it goes out every single night. This year, 366 days a year. There are 2 stops. One stop is behind New Jersey Avenue in Northwest behind the Walmart on H Street. The second stop is in McPherson Square, which has been the problematic location, although it's always the largest location, but it's inside the perimeter, and that's the one where we've had to talk our way through. But I can tell you, and Donna's been out there, and I've been out there on several occasions, and we've talked through tanks, we've talked through military police, DEA, BC police, and we always get through. And what's so amazing, and we heard this from a team member just on Sunday, is that, with everything that was going on Sunday, that they just immediately radioed in, it's Martha's Table, let them through. So our reputation precedes us, and we're very proud of the work that we do with McKenna's Wagon and the fact that we've been able to operate every single night.
Great. This question's from George. Why does Anacostia remain a food desert? Are grocery stores and food companies not listening and still reluctant to invest in areas across the river?
I think it's linked to financials. When you look at business, right, you will go where the money is so that people can patron you. And even if you look at the grocery stores, I would posit, I don't have this data readily available, I would posit that the 3 grocery stores that we have in Ward 7 and 8 probably bring in less revenue than the grocery stores in other parts of the town. So to make massive investments to bring business to economically disadvantaged areas is usually not advised in a business setting. And that's why it's not just grocery stores. We are an everything desert. We are a retail desert. We are a food desert. We are anything you want desert. And what's happening now is, if you look at the economic trends, if you look at the cranes and you see new construction, you see some of the leading housing indicators, you're starting to see some shifts and some changes. And these things go hand in hand, right? So when you look at it's ticking up a little bit in terms of median income, because you have some folks who are starting to see, wow, great housing stock in Southeast. Wow, the best views of the entire city. I'm sitting here at our beautiful headquarters where I can see, I'm looking dead at the Capitol. I'm looking at it, Ms. Pelt. I'm looking at the monument. I'm looking at, I can see Virginia. I can see Maryland. People are starting to see what Washingtonians like myself have long known about Southeast. And so as you start to see those economics move, then you start to see the businesses come, right? And we can look at our old headquarters in Ward 1. I'm from here, as I mentioned, and my school, Sidwell Friends, shout out to them, and any other Fox, what are we, the Foxes now? But, you know, everybody affiliated with Sidwell, at least when I was there, had to sign a waiver to go volunteer at Martha's Table because 14th Street was awful. It was awful. And there was no business there. There was no business in that part of Northwest. And what has happened, right, is through gentrification and economic forces, now 14th Street has all these restaurants, all these businesses. We mentioned in Ward 1, now all of 9 grocery stores in Ward 1. So it's coming, but people are watching the economic indicators and they're waiting to see when it will be financially feasible. The issue for us, which we are trying to work against what happened actually in Ward 1, which is we don't want what happened in Ward 1 to happen in our location right now. The folks who lived in Ward 1, when I used to volunteer in middle school and upper school, no longer live there. And for the most part, they do not live in the District of Columbia. They have been pushed out. That should not have to happen here. People should be able to stay and thrive. There is no reason that you can go through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then when things get good again, that you get pushed out. So everything that we are doing is trying to work against those, not against those forces, but with the community so that they can be with those forces, so that they can actually be the ones who, start the businesses, run the businesses, launch the franchises. They can be homeowners. Over 90% of our area here are renters, right? I mean, and when you start to look again at like economic indicators and what that means for you and your economic future, which again is linked to your health future, your educational future, your affiliations with the justice system, we are doing everything that we can, not just in this immediate moment with COVID, but we are forward focused and forward facing so that our neighbors, that young man I told you about with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, Dinosaur Tom, he should be able to grow up here and he should be able to thrive, and his parents should be able to keep their house and own their house, and they should be able to achieve their dream. And so I'll just take that as a moment to also just share with our strategic planning process, which is underway. It is community driven, 100% community driven. 5 themes have emerged, and one of which is economic mobility. A lot of what we do with food, with clothes, that's economic stability. It's trying to hold you in the moment. Mobility is about trying to move you at least as quickly as the economics are moving in your area, but hopefully faster than that. And so we're really excited about our strategic plan. When we first moved here, it was a 20-year vision. COVID has accelerated that. We probably have 5 or 10 years left to make sure that, again, the communities that we stand alongside are still here.
James had a question and has been intrigued by what he's read about the cash transfer programs. Can you tell us more about that?
So again, our cash transfer program laid the foundation for Thrive, which is a partnership between Bread for the City, Martha's Table, Bread for the City, Building Bridges Across the River, and Far Southeast Family Strengthening Collaborative. It is being evaluated by the Urban Institute. We have all come together, those 4 on-the-ground nonprofits, The program provides $5,500 to every family, 500 families. Uh, again, dignity and respect are core values for us. So you have the opportunity to choose how you want to receive the money. You can choose a check, you can choose a gift card, you can choose whether you want a lump sum, you can choose whether you want it in installments. So choice is built in to the program. Additionally, you receive groceries every week. And they're enhanced bags, so they tend to have things like meats in them, which our typical bags don't necessarily have. Again, kind of going back to bonus items, but you get an enhanced grocery bag, and then you get monthly dry goods. Dry goods are soap, laundry detergent, Clorox, bleach, things of that nature. In addition to that, you also get a family navigator where they help you through if you are interested in. And what's amazing is it's an opt-in to select that you want a family navigator. Every family has opted in. And so they help you with understanding savings, credit restoration, buying a house, things of that nature. And so again, there's 500 families, all awarded. You have to somehow be affiliated with one of those four organizations. You have to meet 50% AMI, so area median income, meaning that 50% of the $34,000. And I don't know, I'm blanking on the third criteria, but that's how you actually are a part of that program. And again, families have just said that, this has really gone a long way for them, and that, as this, there's three things that are happening in our communities. We have the health pandemic, we have mass unemployment, and a huge economic situation going on where people are not just losing their jobs, they're not just getting their hours cut, but their jobs aren't even coming back. Like they're not coming back. And then the third piece is we have just racial and social unrest. And it's just made for what you would think would be a very sobering and sad time, but all we see is just energy. We just see inspiration, we see resilience, we see, community members who say, we've been knocked down before and we got back up, and as Donna mentioned earlier, this is a point that folks should really know. Folks who are coming to us, who are saying, I don't have any money to give you, but I'm gonna volunteer, and they're giving their time. And this is not like a handful of folks. We have so many community members now who are volunteering with us. They're like, you're standing alongside me, I'm going to stand alongside you. And that's, to me, one of the most powerful moments in all of that, what's happened in these past several months.
Great. This one's from Sally. Is Martha's Table partnering with other community groups or government agencies to do wellness checks, as well as providing food and meals?
Well, in terms of the food and meals, yes. So the DC Department of Health, and again, the Office of Planning. In terms of like wellness checks, we have certain programming. We do have virtual fitness that goes on every single day. We have a great we have a great response rate to that. We even have a seasoned citizen specific health and wellness course. It's great, and I'm telling you, I can't hang with the seasoned citizens. I cannot, not at all. But in terms of like wellness checks in the community, that's not necessarily something that we are doing right now. But I will mention, since I talked a little bit about the strategic plan, the 5 themes that have come out, and I just want to mention, we had over 1,000 touch points throughout the community. Throughout Ward 8, Ward 1, we had focus groups in English, Spanish, and Amharic. We had focus groups with seasoned citizens, returning citizens, youth, and a whole host of other groups. And there are 5 themes that have emerged. What people want is, if you're going to be a nonprofit anywhere, you need to be a true and trusted neighbor. You need to support the transition from youth into adulthood, foster economic mobility, deal with things like mental and emotional wellness, and the trauma and community safety. And another contrary to popular belief, our campus that has the most safety issues is the one in Northwest and Columbia Heights. There's amazing spikes, unfortunate spikes that are happening in that community. And so those are the 5 themes that have come through. We are investigating and looking at what are the best ways that Martha's Table can respond to those. Some of those may be Martha's Table directly. It's also incredibly likely that we would go into partnership with other organizations who are in those spaces and in that work. But when you have, well over 1,000 folks in different, who represent all of the communities you stand alongside, and those are the things that bubble up, and very loudly and clearly, you have to listen to that, because that's how we're going to be the true and trusted neighbor, which we know, we hope that we are today, and we hope to be and plan to be in the future.
Great. We have time for about 2 more questions. So this one from Kathy: if this goes on for another 6 months or more, how do you sustain the energy this takes to pull off? Also, how do you know what the community needs as it continues?
Kathy, I don't know, but we have managed to do it for 9 months, and I think that we're going to continue to sustain our energy from the community. Folks ask me all the time, how are you so much? Hey, let's do it, man. And where does that come from? It comes from, again, being on the ground, seeing folks, hearing from them, and them saying that, they are not going to stay down from this. Like, they're going to keep getting back up. I think that matters. That matters. And it matters to us, and it fuels us, and it's going to continue to fuel us. And, one way or another, I think that we'll be able to make it work. I don't know how. We didn't know how to do it necessarily in March. We've made it work. We are committed to doing that for as long as this takes. Financially, emotionally, it's not been easy, right? But again, I just think that when you look back at our core values, when you look at our mission, and again, when you spend time with, whether it's in person or virtually, when you spend time with folks who, this is hitting harder than anybody else, and they're still chugging along, well, then how in the world could we not continue chugging along with them?
Absolutely. And I know there's so many more questions we didn't get to, but we'll try our best to follow up after this session. But wanted to end with a question from Jess. How can neighbors help during this holiday season?
Well, the holidays are upon us. Somebody told me that next week is Thanksgiving. Who knew? But there's a number of ways, and I think we've touched on them throughout the conversation. One, people power. If you're feeling inclined and you feel safe, we would love to have you help us pack these thousands and thousands of bags of groceries that go out every day. If this is the time when you are inspired to give, again, every single dollar goes such a long way for us. It just really does. The size of the gift doesn't matter, but supporting us in any sort of way that you can, making sandwiches, donating clothes, and saying something inspirational. You talk about the energy, saying something kind when you see somebody walking around with a Martha's Table shirt or hat, sticker or lanyard. All of that goes a long way.
Awesome. And with that, we just want to thank everyone for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend the evening with you all. We hope to see you soon at Martha's Table. And thank you.
Thank you so much for your unprecedented level of support. We wouldn't be able to do it without you. Really appreciate you.